Good evening and welcome to our remodeled council chambers. A remodel done without any taxpayer dollars. And if you listen to some of our former council members, you'll wonder where the bulletproof glass is. There's none of that either. We are met not too terribly long after the Oscar ceremonies. And I raise that. Some people have asked that we do this State of the City without a host. I'm sorry, I'm here. And you guys look much better than that crowd. I mean, there is not a wardrobe malfunction amongst you. You're looking great. I raise that for two reasons. One, to encourage you to stay to the end. Increasingly, I need to do that with my speeches. But encourage you to stay to the end, because I promise a special guest, a special celebrity guest, before we get done here tonight. And in the time-honored Irvine tradition, our two newest council members are going to sing Shallow for you. He thinks I'm joking. All right. So this is my third State of the City talk, and without too much in the way of spoilers, I'm going to tell you it'll sound a little bit like the last two. As I said when sworn in last December, the message I took from the recent election was that the council and I are on the right path. We're seeing progress and improvements on many fronts, and we plan more of the same. Let me introduce to you some of the key people directing and implementing that progress, because some of the faces have changed. There's a new energy and commitment to the people of Irvine evident in City Hall, evident in a city council that reads agendas, takes meetings with staff, comes prepared, evident in our commissioners, many of whom are in the audience today, who've rolled up their sleeves and immediately gotten to work for you, and evident in the dedication that we see every day in our staff. First, our city council. Mayor Pro Tem Christina Shea. Melissa Fox. Two new council members, Farrah Khan, Anthony Quo. Farrah and Anthony, welcome aboard. Second, joining us this evening, as I mentioned, are a number of commissioners and board members who commit their time to helping guide this wonderful city. If you're a commissioner or one of our board members out in the audience, please stand up. They do very great and underappreciated but valuable work, and my thanks to every one of them. Thank you also to our many partners, some of whom are with us, who are working with us here every day to improve the city. So thank you to all of those, and again, I'll mention a few of them a little bit later in the speech. Finally, I really want to welcome the First Lady of Irvine, my wife, Megan. Not the picture I saw in rehearsals. I had the unique and the truly touching experience of having her administer the oath of office to me in December at the start of my second term. Thank you. Welcome. There's a lot to celebrate in Irvine last year and a lot to look forward to this year. But I want to start on what could have been a dark note, but ended up in a strong showing of community resolve and mutual support. What you do to any of us, you do to all of us, and we're not going to stand for it. Those were my words last year in response to two disheartening hate crimes visited upon the city several months ago. First at Irvine Valley College, and then at the Beth Jacob Congregation of Irvine. But they weren't dark, because at the end, our community responded beautifully. Religious, political, public safety, and community leaders joined us at City Hall to express our joint resolve to stand against hate crimes. A reward from the ADL, doubled by the council, was offered for information leading to the arrest of the perpetrator of the Beth Jacob vandalism. We then began the new year with the idea and upon the invitation of Mayor Pro Tem Shea, with an invocation by Rabbi Israel Sinar of Beth Jacob, right here in the council chamber, with leaders from our local Jewish, Christian, Muslim communities, and the Orange County Human Relations Commission. My council colleagues and I, indeed the entire Irvine community, know that this was not an attack on one small group, but was an attack on every one of us of good faith and goodwill. It cannot, it will not be tolerated in Irvine. Let me digress for a moment on a subject of our wonderfully diverse community. Irvine is, of course, very religiously, very ethnically, very diverse. Strangely, I sometimes get asked, how can I, a mayor of Peller, understand and represent such a diverse community? And I say strangely because, frankly, the question's nonsensical to me. How can I, or any of my colleagues, represent people with religious or skin color or family circumstances or ethnicities different from our own? The answer is easy. People come to Irvine from wherever they come for the same reason Megan and I came here. People want to make Irvine their home because of their quality of life. They want a place to raise their families in safety. They want good schools and welcoming neighborhoods. They want a place to work, either starting and growing a business or with one of our many established businesses. They want to access our parks and wilderness trails and our bike lanes and open spaces, and it doesn't matter whether they come from Los Angeles, like Megan and I did, or from someplace else. And it doesn't matter what their skin color is, or their religion, or the languages they may speak. How can Ms. Khan, or Ms. Fox, or Mr. Quo, or Ms. Shea, or me, how can any of us represent such a diverse community? You folks know as well as I do, we can do it with great joy and with many, many common interests. That is today's Irvine. So let me talk for a minute, or if you know me a little more than a minute, about the strengths of Irvine. We are the safest city of our size in the nation. We offer world-class education. We are fiscally sound with a strong economy. We have a nationally recognized park system that includes our two newest community parks, 32-acre Portola Springs, which opened a few weeks ago, and the 12.5-acre Los Olivos, which opens this Saturday. And in 2018, the Orange County Register's readers voted us best place to live in Orange County. Thank you to all who voted. No ballot harvesting was needed. So let me drill down on those strengths for a moment. First, public safety. We remain the safest big city in America, according to the latest FBI statistics on violent crime. And recently, we were ranked as the 10th safest city in the entire world. I want to thank Chief Hamill, his command Chief Hamill's command staff, and each and every member of the Irvine Police Department for their daily diligence. Being a safe city is hard work. They do that work every day and make it look easy. As to our schools, about 15% of our city's residents, more than 40,000 preteens and teens attended class today in Irvine Unified's and in Tustin Unified's Irvine campuses. Cadence Park, K-8 school, opened in the Great Park neighborhoods last August. And Loma Ridge Elementary School opens this August in Portola Springs. The Loma Ridge campus will bring us to a total of 45 public schools in Irvine. And these students are doing some exciting work. Just last weekend, I attended the awards ceremony for the California Cyber Hub Mayor's Challenge. What was that? Teams from Irvine High and Woodbridge High, along with teams from Sierra Vista and Orchard Hills Middle Schools, competed with others from around the county. The challenge was to save the nation's electrical grid from terrorist hackers. And they had 4 hours to do it. Fortunately, it was just a test scenario. But in the real world, UCI has begun work on a cybersecurity project aimed at protecting us against precisely that threat and so much more. Also in the real world, a couple of months ago, a group of teens from 6 Irvine high schools sent a small satellite into outer space. The Irvine CubeSat. The Irvine CubeSat, a STEM program made up of teams from the Irvine and Tustin districts, had a perfect launch. The students were able to watch the launch on their phones from India, streaming over the internet. When I was in high school, yeah, you know where I'm going. Streaming wasn't a thing. Phones had cords, were mounted on the wall, and the only cubes were Rubik's. Not today. Today, Irvine students are preparing for the future and are preparing to be our future leaders. They get support in this from businesses such as the Irvine Company and 5 Point Communities, from the great work of the Irvine Public Schools Foundation, led by President Netta Eaton, and through the continuing commitment of this city council. We stand alone among American cities in the financial support of our public schools. This school year, the City Council has allocated more than $10 million in direct and indirect support. We are very fortunate to be able to offer that continued support. But that money merely supplements the daily efforts of the teachers and administrative staff of the IUSD and TUSD who work tirelessly on behalf of our children. And they are supported in turn by Irvine Unified School District Superintendent Terry Walker, who is here today, Tustin Unified School District Superintendent Gregory Franklin, and their respective boards. Ira Glaske, Lauren Brooks from IUSD, Francine Cinto from Tustin Unified School District, and sitting down, Sharon Wallen from IUSD. Also on the list of Irvine's strengths are our parks. One of our public-private projects, say that quickly 3 times, public-private projects, continues as the Orange County Great Park takes large strides forward. Last September, we had a second phase grand opening of the 194-acre sports complex. In all, 12 new baseball and softball fields, each with 1 championship stadium, opened to thousands of players, their families, and our community. The first phase of the sports complex opened in 2017 during my first year as mayor. Hopefully, you've all been there to see it for yourselves. I especially want to urge you to get out to the soccer stadium, to see our professional team, the Orange County Soccer Club, and cheer them on as they play their home games right here in Irvine. All of this occurred through our steadfast public-private partnership with 5 Point Communities. Together, we are developing 688 acres in the Great Park. And last month, the City Council approved an agreement with Pretend City Children's Museum. We have guests from Pretend City here. To move from a nearby leased building onto a larger permanent location to be built at the Great Park. Separately, this City Council will soon determine the future uses of the 248-acre Cultural Terrace. The Cultural Terrace lends itself to any number of artistic, cultural, and entertainment components. Museums, a library and community meeting space, a concert venue, botanical gardens, and the like. In 2018, just outside the Great Park boundaries, the temporary 5 Point Amphitheater, managed by Live Nation, had its first full series of concerts. In 2019, the City Council and senior staff met with, well, I wasn't going to tell you, but the city manager spilled the beans earlier today, the American Museum of Natural History, to begin exploring a possible presence for them on the Cultural Terrace. And much more work will be done this year to bring arts, entertainment, and culture to the Orange County Great Park. Finally, as we go through Irvine's strengths and the reasons this diverse community is so vibrant, I have to touch on our business environment. We're expanding our job market through coordination with the Greater Irvine Chamber of Commerce and through our joint efforts to attract businesses. And this works across multiple industries. The Orange County Business Journal ranked Irvine as the #1 major city in terms of jobs to population ratio. We have approximately 275,000 residents and more than 200,000 jobs. No other city in America can match that. To take one example of the cities and the chamber's collective efforts, only last week, City Manager John Russo and chamber members returned from the United Kingdom in another of their trips to explain the merits of Irvine and Orange County as a hub for the life sciences industry relocating to America. This is the third such visit by the chamber under the leadership of Brian Starr and Linda DiMario. Thank you, Brian and Linda. Their efforts are paying dividends. I understand we have 10 companies that will be coming here to explore on the ground, live, the opportunities of Irvine. But it's not all about attracting businesses. We're also invested in making even more successful the great corporate citizens who are already here. For example, let me highlight 3 local companies that remain bullish on Irvine. I hope you grabbed a bite to eat out at the reception. It was catered by a fine Irvine company, Taco Bell, that just released its Irvine headquarters through at least 2030. With 800 Irvine employees who are all well-fed, I might add, we're thrilled that Irvine remains their home. With 7,000 restaurants worldwide, we know that Taco Bell could relocate anywhere but Irvine. Home to Taco Bell's famous test kitchen is where innovation happens. Second, in 2018, Edwards Life Sciences, Orange County's largest public company, began construction on 7.6 acres to expand its current campus. A company that could operate anywhere in the world chose to buy land next to its already beautiful and updated Irvine facility. With more than 4,000 employees in Orange County and hundreds more to be added in their new space, we thank Mike Masalam and Edwards Life Sciences for their continued commitment to the city of Irvine. In another part of the city, the Irvine Company last year began leasing opportunities in the second of its 2 new corporate high-rises in the Irvine spectrum. As you look down from the top floor and into the Irvine Spectrum Center, you see the newly opened $200 million renovation of the former Macy's space that is now home to restaurants, a new Apple store, and much more. We thank all of Irvine's businesses who've moved here. Maybe you've just started up here, are innovating here, are hiring here, and are expanding here. Now, none of this is to ignore our challenges. Although our strengths somewhat inoculate us from the depths of problems some other communities may experience, we're certainly not immune to those challenges. Perhaps the 2 biggest issues facing us in the last year were homelessness and continuing traffic congestion. I addressed both last year at this time and am happy to report this year both of these problems are seeing progress, albeit slow, but real progress towards real solutions. What do I mean? First, homelessness. We know it's a national issue. We are not immune. Homelessness has many causes, including mental illness, substance abuse, economic stresses, domestic violence, affordability. One single solution does not exist because one single cause doesn't exist. But this city, the council, but more importantly you, the citizens, have not stood aside as the problem festered. Rather, we've all acted to help our neighbors. The county's homeless point-in-time count before I became mayor was 199, meaning that the actual physical count of homeless in Irvine was 199 individuals. A new point-in-time count was done a few weeks ago. We don't have final numbers, but a very senior county executive officer told me our count today is likely less than 50, and I think even that's high. In other words, over the last few years, we've seen a 75% reduction in the homeless population because we've worked hard to help those community members. How so? Our police department has 2 trained, experienced mental health professionals able to engage our homeless and their service providers, speak their language, and respond appropriately to their challenges. We've also worked extremely hard in Irvine to address a very tough component of the problem by providing permanent affordable housing. It's true that permanent affordable housing is only one piece of this most difficult puzzle, but it's a piece that the people of Irvine have done extremely well. For example, in 2018, 237 more affordable housing units opened in Irvine, largely reserved for the most at-risk citizens, the extremely low income, very low income, and low income residents, some of whom would be homeless without this support. We'll be at 5,500 permanent affordable units, about 5.5% of our total housing stock by the end of 2021. We've helped create, for some in our community, very real housing security. And we've avoided the travesty seen in Anaheim along the riverbed near Angel Stadium. We've also avoided the knee-jerk effort by the Board of Supervisors to recreate the county's failures by setting up a tent city on county land next to the great park. What Irvine is doing right is working, and it's being copied. The county, with its burgeoning land trust, is going after millions of dollars of state funds to build permanent affordable housing. We applaud that effort. We also got there first. The Irvine Community Land Trust was started in 2006 by the city for purposes of providing permanent affordable housing, and it continues its forward progress. The nonprofit is chaired by our council member, Melissa Fox, and includes board member and council member Anthony Kuo. Last year, the Irvine Community Land Trust opened the 80-unit Park Darien, which has a number of units reserved for veterans and the disabled. This year, the Land Trust is developing Salerno. The 80-unit Salerno begins construction this summer for completion in June 2020. In all, the Land Trust is receiving $29 million from the city over several years for the purposes of permanent affordable housing. Elsewhere in the city in 2018, the 157-unit senior affordable housing complex, Luxara, opened. Meanwhile, the city supports nonprofit agencies, Human Options being one, that provide emergency shelter to those most at risk, including abused women and their children. While the region-wide effort is strong, as it should be, for a homeless solution, we have provided a significant amount of support. It's inappropriate for critics to downplay the permanent supportive housing or say, oh, it doesn't count if the people aren't actually homeless. They certainly would count towards the homeless population if we didn't provide a permanent solution. The second important unresolved issue is traffic congestion. As I've said before, the first roll of holes is to stop digging. The council that I lead has stopped the digging that led to our traffic problems. The city council has not approved a single new residential housing project. And my council and I pushed back against the travel land rezoning. It needed to be rethought. My council and I said no to a developer effort to exceed density caps in one of our planning areas. And we said no to a developer planning to put up apartments on the Rancho San Joaquin golf course. There has been no reluctance on the part of this council to say no to development that makes our traffic worse. Shortly after I was elected, I led the city council to approve the creation of a transportation commission and to hire a transportation director to improve our traffic systems. I'm happy to report we're making progress. Now, Irvine did not get into its traffic situation overnight. The fixes are not going to be felt overnight. But those fixes have resulted in a smoother traffic flow. Just last week, Transportation Commissioners Chairman Kerry O'Malley and Vice Chairman Stephen Greenberg, who are both here tonight, shared with me the results of a study showing improvement in commute times from the steps we've taken. For example, in data collected last spring, average travel speeds within 10 of our key corridors showed improvement. In 8 of the 10 corridors during the morning rush hour, and 7 of the 10 during the evening rush hour. We've committed more than $79 million towards traffic mitigation, with 21 specific improvements underway or already completed. What are those? Well, for example, we just completed installing flashing yellow left turn lights at 5 intersections, with more to come. So you don't have to sit staring at a red arrow when there's no oncoming traffic. Additional travel lanes, such as along University Drive between Campus Drive and MacArthur Boulevard, and new turn lanes, such as on Alton Parkway at the Alton-Jeffrey Road intersection, are being constructed. We have an agreement with Caltrans that now synchronizes lights at our freeway on-ramps and off-ramps. The city staff is exploring an adaptive signal system to monitor traffic conditions and to automatically adjust signal timing. Expect these and other construction projects to be completed this year and in 2020. Finally, I want to mention one other change that is significant in the way the city does business and in which you can participate. Under the direction of new Assistant City Manager Mariana Marasheva, wave, We are implementing a 2-year budget process for the city. Rather than lurch from year to year with our budget, we're taking a longer view, budgeting in 2-year increments. But we need your help. A series of public meetings are planned to inform our citizens about the new budget cycle and to get input on that process from you, our constituents. Please take advantage of this opportunity by participating in next month's public community meetings. Find information about them on our homepage, cityofirvine.org, and join us. I can't end this talk about the state of the city. I know some of you are thinking, soon enough. I can't end this talk on the state of the city without a brief mention of ice hockey. Because who doesn't think of ice hockey when you think of Irvine? Well, we have a place for you if you're thinking about ice hockey or figure skating. Great Park Ice, a second public-private partnership. This one between the city of Irvine and an affiliate of the Anaheim Ducks opened last month at the Great Park. This is a one-of-a-kind, $100 million, 270,000 square foot facility with ice hockey tournaments already underway. And figure skating and public skating hours are filling the ice. The Ducks themselves will occasionally train here. We hope that some of the players make an appearance when Great Park Ice is formally dedicated next week. But in case you can't make that dedication, we brought a piece of the team to you tonight. Let me introduce the most famous Anaheim Duck of them all, Wild Wing. I can't top that. I got nothing else. Wild Wing is going to explain to me the icing rule and help me with my slap shot. Go Ducks, go Irvine. Good night, everybody. We are adjourned.